Hey guys! Recently I said I wanted to outline my ideas and priorities for 2024 in a lengthy post. But in this day and age, who likes to read large posts anymore? So I thought I might as well make a video and tell you all about it, while I play footage of me sculpting a quadcopter drone in the background. For those of you who are new to my page, a short introduction from my part. My name's Robert. I'm the guy behind Enfilade Figures. I do all the designing, sculpting, painting and administration myself. Only the casting is contracted out to people who know what they are doing and already have the required machinery. Also, I am not a native English speaker, so bear with my accent and pronunciation. So, where do I start with my thoughts for 2024? And what's this all about? Let me start by looking back. Late last year, I hit a wall. I simply had no motivation left to continue sculpting any minis. No modern stuff, no fantasy stuff. I had to take a break. I had to store away my sculpting tools, clear out my desk. I had the desire to put it all away, to have space for other things. I guess I had pushed myself to a point where I burned myself out and had no creative juice left. I realized this through contact with a fellow creator that I follow on Instagram. Pavel from Rotten Factory announced that he was closing his shop for an indefinite time to take a break. This announcement resonated so deeply within me, it is hard to put into words. I too had played with the thoughts of just closing it all down or maybe selling the molds and production rights to someone else. It all felt like it wasn't worth my time anymore. I had worked relentlessly to fulfill other people's requests, needs and desires. Worked on commissions to produce minis, on other people's briefings, and while I enjoyed creating all of them, and they turned out great, I felt a bit empty. It felt to me like Pavel was just a few small steps ahead of me in his journey. We shared some thoughts and our reflections on what got us to this point. And it was during this conversation I wrote to him, "It's not like my life depends on making minis. It has always been a passion project, but lately the passion has faded. I realize I made way more minis than I'll ever need for my own games and still keep producing more minis just to please other people. I probably got stuck in this habit due to the praise and recognition it brought, rather than the money. And I came to the conclusion that it was time for a break. But without closing down the store. I would just stop putting pressure on myself, fulfill all the orders that come in, and enjoy my break doing other things. Maybe I would wind down things a little bit, downgrade some of the more expensive subscriptions that are required to operate this business, and reap the benefits from investments in the past. So I went into hiatus for a few months. Pretty much exactly 2 months. And the old itch to create minis came back. Slowly I took the sculpting supplies out of storage, sculpted a few minis, put them away again. About 2 weeks into the new year, I had my first new set of 9 minis done and some digital sculpts. These digital sculpts prompted another interesting exchange that helped me gain clarity on the direction for the future. Jean-Philippe, a longtime supporter and one of the test players for Code Red, asked what my plans with the digital models were. Do you want to start selling STLs, 3D printed minis, or both? Well, that was a question I had asked myself for months, ever since I started dabbling in the 3D scanning and sculpting process in earnest last year. So far it had been experiments, but the question was on point. What is the plan going forward? Providing STL files of the digitally modeled minis is an obvious no-brainer. It's minimal effort to make them available for download, and it provides minis to a new target audience. But I never felt comfortable offering them exclusively as digital downloads. More than one person asked if the minis would be available as physical copies for those who do not have access to a 3D printer or simply prefer the traditional model being delivered to them. It would also leave the core supporters who purchased all my metal minis in the past out in the cold, unless they got access to a 3D printer. So switching to a digital-only distribution was not a straightforward option. I wanted to offer the option to purchase physical models the old way. That would leave me with 3 options to execute on this decision. Number 1. Offer 3D printed minis by printing them myself on demand. That felt uncomfortable because of my own love-hate relationship with my resin 3D printer. I love the results. The minis these things can make are amazing. I just hate the mess the printer makes. The cleaning, the gooping, dripping resin everywhere, the toxic waste it leaves behind, the contaminated cleaning fluids I have to dispose of. I just hate the process. I cannot fathom printing anything just to ship it off for money. With my own words, it's not about the money, it's about the passion. And there is no passion for 3D printing. It's just a tool. And I would have to upgrade my 3D printing setup to a better, larger and more capable machine. So there's cost involved. Then there's option number 2, outsource the 3D printing. I could outsource the production printing and take 3D printed minis on stock for shipping. That would complicate my supply chain by adding another supplier, add more administrative overhead to order out of stock items, and I am not even sure if it would be cheaper than just casting it. Professional 3D printing can be just as expensive as traditional production methods. That led to option number 3, offer physical releases as metal minis. That would allow me to continue offering what I currently do to my core audience and do so without setting up another distinct supply chain for 3D prints. I would much prefer metal models over 3D prints anyway for painting. It's just a different tactile experience. It feels more premium. On the other hand, that means molding and casting costs that need to be paid up front. As I outlined the options to Jean-Philippe, I achieved more clarity what I wanted to do. And his answer helped me getting this internal conflict resolved. As he wrote, but hey, make it so that it's enjoyable for you. Yeah, again it comes down to, it's not about the money, it's all about the passion. So screw the molding and casting costs. I'm going to release them as physical models. I want metal models. In hindsight, the solution should have been pretty obvious. If you enter my shop, the first picture that greets you says, quality models for gamers and collectors. Hand sculpted and cast in white metal. It's already stated there, cast in white metal. So, number 3 it is. Boom, internal conflict resolved, another weight lifted from my shoulders. Then, about 2 weeks into the new year, I decided that I wanted to host the demo game for my modern wargaming rule set Code Red at a local convention in May. The scenario provided a clear focal point to develop more miniatures aimed at my personal gaming requirements. My scenario takes place in a fictional African country, so I took stock of my collection and realized I needed some more African militia, and my range was short on support weapons and leaders. And as I love to play asymmetric and highly narrative, tense and chaotic games, I also needed a proper modern military force to put into harm's way. I pondered to use Americans, French, Germans. I have some decent minis for all of them, but there was no passion, so ultimately I decided that the intervention force would be British because I felt attracted to that idea. I have some British sets already, but some of them are rather old and not up to my current standard. There are also no pictures of painted minis in the shop, as I never got the sets painted, so the preparation for the convention provides the perfect opportunity to remaster and replace some of the more dated British minis in my lineup, paint them all up to put pictures on the website, provide troops for actual gaming during the event, revisit and update Code Red, my modern wargaming rule set, to promote it both at the convention and to a wider audience throughout the year. And so I got to work sculpting a British infantry section and some Africans. And from all these exchanges, thoughts and influences, I managed to synthesize 4 principles and priorities for 2024. The slogan, quality miniatures for gamers and collectors, hand sculpted and cast in white metal, will remain the key guiding principle for 2024. So, principle number 1 is metal miniatures are the priority and focus. Digital sculpting is a tool, not the primary channel to release miniatures for me. I will continue to use digital sculpting where I see fit and enjoy doing so, but I will probably not switch to 100% digital. I enjoy working with physical materials way too much. It also means I aim to release all digital sculpts as metal miniatures. Digital files may supplement ranges, most likely for terrain, weapons and vehicles, but the overall concept is to avoid exclusive digital releases for complete miniatures. This also means that the digital models I created so far, North Vietnamese and Australians, are being prepared to be cast into metal right now. Principle number 2, focus on fleshing out and remastering existing ranges and old models. While looking through my figures in preparation for the convention, I noticed I have some dated sculpts that are not up to date and some gaps in the existing ranges. I already told you I am producing a completely new set of British infantry, which will replace at least one of the old sets. I am also filling the gaps in the African insurgent range, and later this year, France would be an obvious candidate to revisit, even though sales of the existing range were underwhelming. Maybe it's because they are not the greatest models I ever made. Principle number 3 means improving the quality of product presentation in the shop. This is actually a continuation of something I have been working on for several years. When I started my webshop, my photography and photo editing skills were a bit underwhelming. It's become better throughout the years as I learned and adapted, but there are some old pictures that need replacement. I will also be removing the painted sample labels on all my pictures. By accident, I noticed how good pictures look without this. It's one of those decisions I made when I first started that I never questioned or revisited. Now, with a lot more knowledge and experience regarding design, I realize how distracting that thing slapped on all pictures really is. It's just a visual noise, no added value. So it has to go. And number 4, get back to work on Code Red. With a long break since the last game, I can look at the rule set with fresh eyes. My own break from modern gaming made me realize what I really like about the setting and what originally drew me into all of this, the asymmetric, fast and chaotic combat involving small units. For some time I've been thinking about going bigger, fighting larger battles by using a smaller scale, involve more units, enable company actions, and I might be doing that by picking up another rule set, maybe sometime in the future. But Code Red thrives in the small scale of individual teams fighting their way through chaotic and asymmetric scenarios. I want to streamline the system even more, to make it even faster without losing the overall feeling. I will probably throw out some of the complexities that held me back in the past and simplify some rules that don't see much use anyway, like fire missions, which are currently very clunky and won't be used in most scenarios anyway. The idea is to focus on producing a solid core gaming experience and a set of cool scenarios that are driven by my own gaming passion. That sums up my ideas and the direction for 2024. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. Have a good time.